Login accepted.
Hey everyone, this is Bobby Davis, the co-founder, and well, actually I'm the founder of Coder Foundry, not the co-founder, the founder of Coder Foundry and CEO of Cortex, and I'm here joined by Kevin Doyle, the best producer in all of Kernersville. How you doing, Kevin?
I'm awesome. How are you?
Doing great.
Just give me fake co-founder credit.
Okay, I'll give you fake co-founder credit.
No. This is all you. That's funny. No, it was just me. Just me.
Yeah. So they're worried that you weren't here today. So.
Oh, who was worried? No, I'm here.
Raphael was worried about it.
I mean, let's see. What's he say? Had a nightmare where Kevin was away again. Oh, thanks, Raphael. I appreciate it.
Guardian down.
The wall was right. Oh, there you go.
Destiny. It's a sense of destiny. Guardian down.
That's good. That's great.
I like it.
That's cool.
Hit X button. Pick them up.
Hey, we had a question actually from Julio, who I guess is starting. We have class starting next week.
Reach out to us directly, Julio. That's more involved than I can do on the channel right now. There are some things that we may change with this, but just install SQL Server 219 Express would be fine.
Yep. You'll get some more details from us, Julio, this week. I think I mentioned on Friday, but we have a call on Thursday afternoon that you'll get you get an invite. Actually, it'll come from me. I'm sending it out as soon as I have the complete list together for students. So, yeah, pretty exciting times. We have a class finishing this week and one starting next week. So yeah, we have no break between these two. One finishes Friday, starts Friday.
Too, man. Like we got almost 40 people in this cohort, I believe.
Yeah, it looks. Yeah, we might start with that many.
There's
always some. Just there wasn't in the last cohort. We had 100 and I think it was 150 something total. Apps. When I cut it off, I actually cut it off technically on Friday. So about that. So we had a lot of people. It should be good. It should be very, very cool. Yeah. Before we start talking about a topic. So did you see? Oh, Raphael said the same thing. Like I was just gonna bring this up. Xbox acquired.
Yes. Yeah, Xbox. Now, what's funny is that as you guys know, I play Destiny, and so like one of the big news last week is rumored that Xbox or Microsoft's going to acquire Bungie back again.
Right.
And then the guy that runs Bungie had one of these denial, not saying it can't happen type things.
Okay, nice. So they definitely spoke to them. Microsoft was in the market to buy a game developer. They spoke to them. Maybe the money wasn't right, because I don't know, maybe maybe $7.5 billion wasn't enough. I don't know.
Right.
Because that's what they're paying for Bethesda. $7.5 billion cash. Not a stock deal, not anything crazy. Cash.
Yeah. They earned it though. They've got Fallout, Elder Scrolls. I mean, they've got some good titles out
They
there.
do. They
So,
have good IPs that just keep bringing out new games. So
yeah.
it's like Fallout alone's got to be worth a ton of money.
But
Doom
Destiny's
as a
bigger than all of
franchise is
those.
worth money.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. They got some pretty good IP. So,
Yeah, definitely.
whereas Destiny had, or Bungie has like literally one IP, I guess. They're
Right.
working on another one.
Right.
So,
Yeah, these guys have a bunch of stuff. So now it comes that, these games will now become Microsoft exclusives. They'll be exclusive to Xbox, is my guess. At least the next ones will.
yeah. So it'll settle in 21
Yeah.
next year, 6 months from now. So,
Yep.
like, who knows? I mean, that means that maybe by the 21 fall releases they'll be exclusive. I
Maybe.
don't think they'll be exclusive for the Xbox launch.
No, well, they won't
They
be
already
because
had
here's the deal. They have PlayStation
some of them.
exclusives already in the
I
bag.
know some of them
So,
already have
yeah.
PS5 exclusives already.
Yeah.
So I don't know if Microsoft can tear those contracts up or what, or they're
I'm
bringing
guessing
those.
not. I'm guessing they'll probably fulfill them. It's too close to launch. We're talking about a
Yeah,
month away,
yeah, and at the very minimum, like since some of those are exclusives, those titles will roll over to Xbox and not
100%
just
they will. They definitely will. Yep.
they'll be on Xbox. So that's
Yep.
for sure. That's kind
Yep.
of cool.
Yeah. Let's see. Maverick has a question before we jump into our topic. Hey guys, had a question for Bobby. I've been told many times that entrepreneurs require a business degree. An MBA is required. I read business strategy books and mags. What's your thoughts?
I don't think you need an MBA at all because I don't have one, and I'm on my fifth company start. So
So it's
I think that
non-essential.
it's not essential. Here's what I think is essential though for entrepreneurs is it's way more sales oriented than process oriented than you
Yeah.
think. Um, there's also you've got to be willing to make less than your counterparts that are working somewhere big in the very beginning, so that you can build your business because it's going to take a minute. You can read about business strategy books, you can read all that kind of stuff, but when it comes right down to it, you have to have deep insight into what you're building, what you're doing, and then try to figure out what your pivot's going to be. Because I promise you, you'll have to pivot. Like
Right.
so, like you can build a plan, and you can put charts together, and you can have all these things, and this is exactly what's going to happen. And you roll your product or your idea out, and then the moment it gets to the customer hands, they want to change it, and so you have to pivot, or you just totally misread um, something, and you have to like go back to the drum board on the product or pivot, or something changes in the marketplace where your product's no longer valid. You can't just quit. You just have to like pivot and change. So I wrote an article on the art of the pivot on LinkedIn. If you want to look it up, it's one of my most read articles on LinkedIn ever.
Oh, cool.
And so you just have to learn how to pivot instead of being hard headed. And then I would say too, the other thing it requires is be humble because you're going to get humbled, and hire the best talent that you can. People that are definitely smarter than you, and if you do those kind of things, I think you'll be fine. You know,
There you go. Cool. I like it.
so a lot of people think it's a bit. There's this magic strategy to this,
Right. Like
and
there's this
you're real
path you can
close to what
follow.
we do here at Coder Foundry. It's extremely difficult, and we're constantly like trying to figure out like how do we make it better? We're constantly
Oh
changing
yeah.
the pivot.
Oh yeah. All the
I
time.
mean, we're
Yeah.
pivoting the actual curriculum on Monday. So
Right. Right.
I haven't really announced it yet, but we'll tell the students when they come in on Thursday not to get scared. Just still come in. We're still teaching .NET C Sharp. There's some really cool things that we're doing inside the curriculum that is a paradigm shift, I think, far as like deliverables, like what we're going to
Right.
require them to do. And then some of the technology like Dockers and containers, we'll be pushing out Docker and containers,
Yep.
you know, moving
Yep.
away from Azure to Heroku, things like that.
Yeah. It's for me, like on the outside, it feels like it's more cutting edge stuff. It's definitely
Yeah,
it's closer to
exactly.
it's closer to what you're actually gonna use, and it's like
Right,
it's definitely more modern for sure with the
right,
change to .NET Core and moving to Docker and containers and that kind of stuff,
right.
where you publish
And if
stuff.
you take January, we'll definitely be .NET 5 like 4 weeks after release. So like just because our .NET Core curriculum is really close to what .NET 5 is going to be anyway,
Yeah.
so there'll be very
Yeah.
few changes. And then after next year, it'll settle down until .NET 6 comes out, and then we'll be
Right.
right there in that January class with .NET 6.
Yep.
Um, so that's part of the pivoting process that you have to go through. You have to constantly evolve, and constantly change and constantly look at what you're doing and try to like manufacture things. The other thing I will say as a business leader, and I can firmly say that I am one, I focus on the things that I'm good at and I hire the things that I'm not.
Yeah. You have to.
So, and so like people think that I can't, because I'm not I'm not saying I'm not good with the numbers. I'm saying I'm not a CPA. I'm not good at accounting. I'm not good at taxes, but that's not what I want to do either.
Right.
And so like, I hire people to manage those aspects of the company for me. What I want to focus in is on strategy, product development, and then some of the hardcore sales things, which I'm good at sales, but we have salespeople that do those things for me.
Right, because the day-to-day in sales is like, you guys work.
Right, exactly.
It's work. You got to put in time to do it. It's like whether you like to do it or not. It's like you wouldn't have time to do the other stuff. You have to do that too.
So, and then I think that's where you have to really like look yourself in the mirror and say, what am I really good at? Where do I add the most value? Do that. Hire the other things outside of that, instead of trying to do everything. Now, when you first start out and it's just you got to do everything. I mean, there's been, a long time ago, I did everything. And I can edit video, but I don't. I've got you, Kevin, to help me get the YouTube channel.
And you do sometimes.
Sometimes every now and then I'll make something.
But that's because you like to do it.
Right.
It's not like you don't have to do it, but it's just something you like to do, so you're gonna do it.
Right.
And that's your prerogative as the business owner and the person that you get to pick and choose what you like to do, and you hire the rest of people who want to do it.
And then you have to like all the edits I make.
I do. Yeah, I do. Yeah, I have to be like, yes, that's perfect, Mr. Davis.
That's awesome, man. That's great.
No, I don't. That's not how we work, and I like that.
I know, it's really
that's not how we work. We collaborate on just about everything. Like if we put something out, it's a joint thing between both of us, which is great because we both get to put our input in it. And I don't feel like that's the best way to be.
Yeah, when I walked in when we first started working together in the marketing department, I always told people that I like to do Photoshop, I like to do things, and when I come in and I want to change stuff, isn't because I don't think you can do it. It's that I like that part of what I'm doing.
Right.
I've made logos for students' bug trackers out of the blue just because I thought it was, and students will ask me to make one, and I'm like, well, if I have one directly in my head, I'll make it, but if I don't.
Yeah, I'm not gonna spend time. Exactly.
I'm not gonna struggle over it. So
Right.
Yeah.
I like it. So let's talk about our topic today. Let's talk about we put out a video on Friday. The marketing plan, which is super in depth. If you haven't watched it, it's like 30 minutes. You guys should definitely go watch it. If you haven't watched it already, go watch it after this. It's the last video on our channel before this one. Super in depth. There is a massive amount of information on there. I have a strong feeling it might end up being our best performing video ever. I just have this it's too good. There's too much stuff in it. So I hope it delivered on. We ramped it up and sort of hammed it up last week, and I hope we didn't do it. We did it justice. I think it's good. I really do.
Yeah, go watch it. I mean, I think everyone should watch it. I don't think there's any of the other tech channels that are out there, and there's a lot of good ones out there. But I don't think any of them really have put in the time and effort into like, how do you market yourself as a developer? And the people that are doing it well do these types of things instinctively. And what I want you to do is do them on purpose and not instinctively.
Right.
A lot of times if you ask someone like, how did you get, 50,000 YouTube subscribers? And there's a lot of people out there who go, I don't really know. I just started making videos. Whereas I think we've tried to look back at that and go, all right, so could I use this to get a job? Could I use a YouTube channel to get a job? And that's 100% true.
Right.
Which is the most undervalued thing about social media, is that you can use it to get connections, get jobs, get work, get freelance work. If you want to be a freelancer, this is the must video to get.
Yeah, you have to do this stuff.
Yeah, if that's your saying, man, I'd love to be a freelancer. I want to start my own IT consulting company. You need to watch this video.
Yep. Hacker Culture said it's a great video, and thank you very much. We appreciate that. Yeah. And Alex says 246 likes, 1 dislike. Only looking good, but who disliked though? Hey, Alex,
we know who you are, man.
We know what we can't say, and it's not me. I don't.
We know exactly who dislikes. We get 1 dislike per video, pretty much.
almost consistently. We've joked about this before, so
yeah. We
so
could make
Julio
a video about cold fusion, legit cold fusion.
Like,
maybe we get a dislike.
We could get the cure for cancer on a video, and someone's gonna be like,
one dislike.
Dislike. It sucks. So Julio says the video is a little intimidating, broken down well to be approachable, and that is the point. And we do say, there's a lot in there, and it is. It's not a get rich quick scheme. It is a get rich over time scheme.
Right. And I think that's some of the problems with some of the channels is that it's like learn to code, get a job, and then like let me teach you Python. So like it's like there's more to it than that, especially if we're breaking in. Like, how do you get a job? Now, some people walking out of our boot camp just have this natural talent that people just are attracted to them naturally by their charisma, their ability to think on the fly and talk on the fly, and that gets them work. And then there's some of us, like a lot of us, that are just like, we're not naturally gifted there. And so we struggle during those interviews. And a lot of people, because they struggle during interviews, will quit before they get their first job, and because they've got a little bit of rejection. What I want to do is, if you put together a plan, I want a plan where the hiring manager calls you and says, do you want to work here? And that's what that video is about.
Right. Something, the video like flips this thing on its head. It says, instead of applying for jobs, no, you want people to you want inbound leads. You don't want to find outbound. You don't want to do sales. You want to do marketing and bring inbound leads to you. That's exactly the purpose.
It's sales and marketing. They're not two things. I got it. I'm all like off camera now. So there's two things. So there's sales is you convincing someone to interview that you can work there. Marketing is when you ring the phone and someone says, hey, do you want to work here? And I think that you should have an absolute rock star marketing plan.
Yep.
So I think that's what works.
Yeah. So I bring that point up, not only to talk about the video, but the video ends pretty much with one of your final slides is taking the first job. And I think that's where we should start this discussion about road to 100K.
Right. So I've told this story. If you read the book Breaking the Code, I tell this story about two young men that graduated from Coder Foundry, and it's a cautionary tale. And the first one was 19. They were both 19, actually. Now I think about it, they were both 19 years old. Yeah. And so you would think that neither one went to college. They just came to the boot camp. That was the only experience. They both graduated. And one went and interviewed at a company, and he didn't take that job. His first offer, he turned it down, and he turned it down based on the politics of the owner. And I can appreciate that totally. I can totally get that. If they're asking you to do bad things, you can't work there.
It comes down to a cultural fit connection is what it was. It didn't have the right cultural fit for him, so he turned it down.
Right. And so like, I remember counseling him, like, listen, man, you're never going to hang out with the boss. You live in America. You can vote for whoever you want. They're not going to like force you. This is the way it works in the U.S. People that are in high positions sometimes get involved in politics, and that's fine. To their detriment or to their benefit, it doesn't really matter. What you want to do is go down there is get a paycheck and get experience. And I think that in view of you breaking the law, asking you to do something illegal, or working for like a porn company or something, something that's just like completely like awful for you, I think that you should take the first job. And the reason you do it is because it's more about experience than absolute perfect fit. Right. I can remember also too, I had a guy that came here that had actually ended up being an instructor. And I'm not going to out him but we had a conversation where he wanted to work in a giant company.
Yeah, I remember this.
And so his first author came out of Coder Foundry was, I'm not working at this company's too small. I don't want to work there. And I'm like, dude, just take the first job, man. You never know. You might even like working for a big company. You may really,
because he had never worked for a big company before. He just had this fantasy around, just like, oh, I want to work for this giant company. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And I said, so just take the first job, get experience. And then once you have experience, then you can make your choices. You have so much more avenue. But back to my original two guys, the second guy I talked to, lived here in North Carolina, and his job offer came in, and it was in literally nowhere, West Virginia.
I don't even remember where it was. It wasn't even. Yeah. It wasn't a city. It wasn't in Charleston, West Virginia. It was nowhere, West Virginia.
Yeah. So like if you know anything about West Virginia, it's very rural. It's very it's not the big city that you would. If you're outside the U.S. watching this, you think of L.A. and New York and like everything's like that. West Virginia is really rural. I would say Montana is very rural. West Virginia is a lot like that because it's very mountainous, coal miner country. It's not what you think of a tech centric. And I'm sorry if you went to West Virginia, but he goes there. He does this gig for 6 months, gets a 6-month lease, and found a job 6 months later, coming back to North Carolina, making more money. So he got paid for the 6 months. And then he got the job that he wanted 6 months later. And so that's what I always say is take the first offer, regardless of pay, benefits, location. It's all about experience. And you need to get 6 months to 1 year experience. And so even if you get lowballed, like we've had people get lowballed, and I always tell them this, this is not your first job. It's not your last job. They do have you in a position now where you have to take this offer because we don't know what offers are coming down the plate, down the pipe for you. So take the first one, use it to make money while you're doing it, and then let's take that experience and launch into something better. There's no reason to make zero while you're looking for the perfect job. Right. Because the first kid that turned it down never broke in, to my knowledge. He never broke in. He just his skills faded. He didn't get an offer right away. It was like 8-9 months later, and then he just kind of drifted away and quit looking. Yep. He didn't break in because he didn't take that first job. And the other guy's on like his third raise.
Right.
And he's still only a year and a half out. I mean, like, it's crazy.
Exactly.
He's doing great.
Now, check this comment, because this is true for a lot of people. Maverick, you are not the only one that thinks this. You should think that a good software job was only available at the big techs like Google, Apple, Facebook, Amazon, and the rest for mediocre devs. But we've changed his mind on that.
I would say I would bet my bottom dollar, and I've worked in a bunch of places. So I've worked in a company called Aon Consulting, which was 40,000 employees across the U.S., worldwide, global company, built one of the very first health insurance enrollment systems on the market in like the late 90s.
You worked in banking too, right?
Yeah, I've been at Wachovia. I've been everywhere. So like, there's mediocre developers in all these places. I guarantee if Microsoft hired me today and I went to work for the .NET team, there's some slacker that eats donuts and reads comic books all day.
It's true. It's true.
And they're watching this, and you know who I'm talking about. Like, like you're that guy. And it's just that you sometimes you sit around in these rooms. You're like, how in the heck did you get here? Like, what happened? Who did you kill to get this job?
Exactly.
And so what you have to do is to overcome those kind of things is you have to focus really hard on not others and what you do, and focus on your craft and your career. And if you want to work at Microsoft and that is your life goal, anybody that can code can probably make that happen.
Right.
It's going to be about timing, about location, about whatever. And so anybody, you can probably make that happen. And when you get there, you may not think it's all that in a bag of chips.
Exactly. Yeah. And it might not be everything. So donuts, comic books all day. I've been 100K, best job ever.
Yeah.
Well, this is why these guys are still there. I mean, it can happen. You can make a 6-figure salary and be that guy. That
I don't know why it happens, man, but every place I've worked, there's always a guy like that I don't know why they keep him around. They just do. And maybe eventually all these types of people get weeded out.
Or maybe there's that one time where he shines. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Something something he's done on a Sunday and he's like, I got this. Yeah. And he comes and saves the company and he's there forevermore now. He's a talisman.
But I was literally in Cubeland in Wachovia, which is a big bank. Now it's Western Union or whatever it is now, or whatever it is.
Aren't they? Are they Wells now? Was it Wachovia?
They're Wells Fargo. Yeah, they're Wells Fargo now. Yeah. So I'm literally coding away, and I take my headsets off because I hear this noise, and this dude is snoring in his cube so loud, it's unbelievable. And so we're and there's 50 of us in this little team here, and we're I had to go over there and go, dude, get some sleep or knock it off. I mean, like, got
That's
to
funny.
get some of those strips, that breathe right strips or something, man. I'm trying to work over here. So he just fell asleep in his cube.
That's funny.
Kind of funny.
Julio says recently there have been FANG employees that were more honest about the actual work. And I think this is true. I think we've always seen this, just there's more of them now. An experience they've truly gained. Before, people wanted to their personal stock to be high and would exaggerate. Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. If you're working at a company, you're not going to say, well, here's what you want. For every company you've ever worked at that goes on your resume, you want that company to be hyper successful. You don't want them to fail and it be terrible and say, like, oh, that was the worst company I ever worked for. They sucked. You don't ever want it to be that. So, of course, people are going to always say good things about places they've worked. You're going to get jaded employees who aren't going to think that because, for whatever reason, that's just how it is. But so, yes, I think in general, people are going to say good things about places that they have worked overall.
I'm not even saying that working at Microsoft or Facebook would be bad. It might be actually enthralling and great and awesome. I remember reading an article about the John Madden football development team.
Yeah.
And they talked about, like, because that thing comes out every 12 months, they talked about and you think that, oh, that's the coolest job. I get to work on a AAA game, and it's like cool. And I've heard people from Call of Duty say the same thing. It's like that November deadline comes every single year.
Yeah.
And it's just like it can just weigh you down, and a lot of them leave and go do indie projects because the schedule is just it's cool.
Yep.
Infinity Ward quit doing Call of Duty. They just got fed up with it. Bungie left Microsoft, said, dude, we don't want to do Halo anymore. We want to do something else. So like I don't think working at the big company is or should be the only goal. And just because you work in a hardware company that makes doors and cabinets for housing, and you're working on inverter control system, doesn't mean you're not a good programmer.
Right.
You can get that sweet 9-to-5 gig, Kevin. Work on maintenance.
Yeah. And make good money. So let's talk about that. So let's talk about that then. Let's say so. Right before I came on here, I looked on Indeed for full stack developer. Now this is specific to the US, and we'll talk about in this too. We'll talk about we're familiar more with North Carolina. We place a lot more people in North Carolina historically than we have in any other place. That's becoming broader now as we're moving across the US and globally in some regions too. But our history has been North Carolina. So we can talk about this from sort of that perspective. So this, if you can see that okay. I think that's big enough. So Indeed has this cool page about average salary. So average base salary across the US, this is $112,000, $112,500 for a full stack dev.
Right.
That's actually gone up more recently.
Yeah, it used to be 97.
Yeah, it used to be 97. Then it was like 105, and now 112. This might be the biggest jump I don't look at this all the time. This might be the biggest jump I've seen in a while. So this was cool. And look at this. It's less than 1 year. The average is 92K. Now, from our experience in North Carolina, that's high. We know that our average is less than that. It's we're somewhere between. We place between sort of 45, 65, somewhere in there, right?
But in 1 year, I think 1 year could be 70 or
this doesn't have a 1 to 2 years option here for some reason. I don't know, but they're saying 3 to 5 is 136, which again I think is kind of high for this. But this takes into account when you start looking down this list companies like Tesla that have an average 173K. We're talking about people these are high-end developers. Look, Fannie Mae, Cisco, Northrop Grumman. These are big companies, and yes, they pay high, but obviously there's a lot lower than that too. And then you take into account geographical regions too. You can earn 150K average in San Francisco, but again, if you go way down this list, our average in North Carolina is probably closer to 100 or is around there, I think.
Yep.
So this obviously is a national thing, and then they have this cool chart too, where the full stack developers earn more, which is kind of interesting. Shows you the blues being higher, the pinks and the purples being lower, and the blacks don't have anything on these. They have no data for them. Which I thought was kind of interesting because look at California. I thought this was interesting. A 14% over average for the nation. I guarantee you it costs you way more than 14% more cost of living to live in California.
It's ridiculous. Like like you see like an average house like $1 million. It's insane.
Yep.
It's insane. And same way in New York.
See, New York isn't as bad, though, because don't forget, this is New York State. Now, I guarantee you, if this drilled down to the city, this plus 7% is like, it's way more. So it's going to be more for New York City, but it averages out because it's like they're taking into account state, too. There's going to be a bunch of, some of the bigger cities in upstate New York, Rochester, and those kind of places. So, yeah, I thought this was kind of interesting. So, enough to say that
Virginia, if you don't know that, is skewed by the D.C. area. So,
exactly.
if there's a lot of the D.C. area that's driving that up, too.
Yep. And North Carolina actually said minus 12, which I was actually kind of like, is it though, really? I mean, I guess based on our national average, probably. Because if this is plus 14, we're minus 12, it makes sense. It comes out about average for me. It's exactly. It comes out to me about like, okay, it's middle of the road, I get it.
Yeah.
But trust me, it costs way more than 14% to live in California than it does in North Carolina. It's not even close.
And then you look at something like Tennessee and Florida and Texas. Tennessee has no state tax, and that's a good deal. And neither does Florida, and neither does Texas.
Yep. Texas is a good one. Look, minus 6%, and they have big cities: Dallas, Houston,
Austin. Yeah. Yeah, and they also have the best barbecue in the world, maybe. Best brisket.
Debatable. I don't know.
Memphis says hello.
I'm going to say Tennessee. Daddy would have something to say about Tennessee barbecue. We were claiming North Carolina,
Yeah.
So, so enough to say that, when we talk about a road to 100K, it's not a fictional number. This is a proven out number that's definitely attainable, that not only does this validate it, but we've also seen it firsthand too. We've seen firsthand students do this in as little as a couple of years for some people.
Yeah.
Second or third job for some people.
Yeah. And so let's put some comments here, and we'll get on to our next part of this. So I don't.
Yeah. Let me.
Like Adam's comment.
Oh, this one's come on. Well, that Florida hate. I know the hate of Florida.
So. I think Hacker mentioned that he moved to California.
He did, from Florida to California.
Yeah,
I wonder how it is. I wonder how that move was though in terms of cost of living, because that had to be a giant. All of a sudden you're paying a crazy tax, and the fact that just cost of living there in terms of your home, whether it be buying it, which is almost unattainable in California, because you're talking about $1 million for a decent something. Or renting it, which again is through the roof. I know people that rent in San Diego, and it's like their rent is like 2 times my mortgage, and they're living in like an apartment.
So, and there could be some hate from Florida. I don't see it. I know lots of people that live in Florida and they like it. Oddly enough, I was talking to Coding Phase, and he had moved from Connecticut to Tampa. Yeah. So he's living in Tampa. So they have some really good spots. I'm sure that there's some rural places that you could call swamps, but Orlando's a great city. Tampa's a great city.
Yep.
Miami, you can live on
obviously is
Miami, South Beach. I mean, like, come on, man. Like,
it's a big place. Florida is like many different places. It's weird to talk about Florida in a way. I don't know the weird side of Florida. I know the nice side of Florida. I've been to Miami. I've been to Orlando. Like nice places in Florida. I haven't been to the weird places in Florida, so
it's and so this isn't really to call out any state over another one's better than the other. I mean, if you're in the U.S., they're all good to live in. It's just that 150 in California isn't the same as 150 in North Carolina by a long stretch.
Right.
It's just expensive. Yep. I do like the alligator might eat you tax in Florida. That one's funny.
That is funny. It's not just Florida though. We technically have gators here in North Carolina too.
Yeah,
you go over to the coast.
But they are everywhere, man. Like the alligator will eat you. Don't swim in the creeks.
Yes, definitely. Ryan says Tampa area is beautiful. Yeah, the place I've never been, but I do want to go there. It's definitely on my list.
I've been to all of them. I've been to Tampa, Jacksonville. I've been in. I
went to Jacksonville once.
A bunch. Jacksonville's kind of like Winston-Salem, dude. I mean, like
it was a little bit too industrial for me.
Yeah, it's very industrial.
I'm like, it's on the coast, but it's like it doesn't feel like the rest of Florida.
Yeah, exactly.
It didn't feel like the rest. You go. Yes, good advice. Probably not moving to New York for a 40K year job. This is true.
That's fine. Yeah, I mean, but like again, if you can commute into the city, maybe it's possible.
Yeah.
If you can, and let's say this. Let's say that we'll move on. We'll take your comment there, Julio. Let's say that you're coming out of your boot camp or you're coming out of free co camp or whatever you're doing, coming out of college, and you live in the area, and someone does offer you $40K. Okay, then you should probably take it. Now, if that involves a relocation, I get that, and maybe you can figure that out. What I'm saying is the first job for experience is way more important. So you can eat rice and beans for 6 months while you just get 6 months on your thing, live in a shack for a second, and then move on to greener pastures.
Exactly.
But if you have like 10 offers coming out, then take the best offer.
Exactly. And hacker culture has a point here too. You never know what connections you'll make. You never know if that $49K a year or $40K a year job will turn into something else.
Yeah.
It's the difference between getting paid and not paid too, right?
Exactly. So
we talk about this a lot too. Yes, zero is bad. And we talk about sometimes, like the guy in your example, you may only get one offer. You literally may only get one offer. And if you let it go too long, you may never get another one.
Right.
You have to break in.
And that's what I say, breaking in is more important than the first job. And then in New York, you don't have to live in Manhattan. You can always ride the train in. They have a great system in there. Now, am I moving to New York? No, I think it's too expensive. That's just my personal preference. But I mean, there's also a very charm and like excitement about New York that's kind of cool.
Yep.
Pizza is definitely a plus.
I like to visit. Just wouldn't want to live there. That's my take on New York. Great place to visit. Just wouldn't want to live there.
Yeah. But there's a lot of people that would just die in like a small town that we live in. They would just they wouldn't like it.
Yeah.
Which I love it. I mean, no traffic and it's awesome.
Yeah.
So.
Yep. So Sadia says Angular plus .NET can get you a $100K salary job.
Sure.
It definitely can.
What I would say is depends on if your experience is. What I always try to tell people is I try to keep it real, and a lot of times when you watch a lot of channels, they're looking at you can make 150, and they're not. What they're saying is you can make 150 after 2 to 3 years. They always forget that. That's the fine print. And so if you know Angular and .NET, absolutely, there's a lot of Angular, there's a lot of React plus .NET jobs out there. They do pay $100K, but they may require some experience. So you may have to accept less to break in. And then that second or third job or those raises that you get from that company will get you to where you want to be. And so we call it here at Coder Foundry is the road to 100K. And we think the road to 100K starts with you taking your first job regardless of pay. And then once you get 3 years of experience in, you can have a lifetime career of making north of 100K jobs. And we've seen a lot of those people too, man. They aren't necessarily good at what they do, but they've managed to cobble together 5 to 10 years of experience. And you look at their resume and they're like, man, you've worked in like 49 places. Like what happened?
Right.
And there's always a story.
Right.
And a lot of people like my donuts and comic book.
That's good. Sometimes for those people where they've worked at a lot of places, the answer is because they've actually chosen to, because they like to do contracts.
Contracting. Yeah,
contracts is a big thing. They did a lot of contracting. That's the thing in this too. If you have short periods of like work, you can often explain that with a contract, and it can be a choice thing. You're like, you get bored in one spot, so I like to do all of these other things, and they're going to be there, and you just reach out and get another contract.
Yep. I've worked in a ton of contracts, and in fact, my contracting led me to being able to start the consulting company because I ended up contracting everywhere. And then I kind of knew some people and landed my first gig without the recruiter. And that's kind of what launched Cortex, so.
That's awesome.
That's pretty cool.
That's awesome. Let's talk about this real quick. Johnny Bravo says, I feel like New York is more of a Java town than C#.NET.
No, I wouldn't say
New York is everything. New York is a Rust town. New York is a bespoke, New York is an everything town. Trust me, they have lots of developers in every stack you can think of. Yeah. We know that C# works because we've had people there that have got jobs in C#.
We've placed them in New York and in Brooklyn and all over the place.
We've placed them in New York. We know people in New York that are on their second and third job that are making well over 100K now that started out along the same path. Took the first job and then I'm sure Hashim would tell that story. I think his brother is a good example of that.
Exactly.
That he talks about that a lot. Okay. Let's see. I'm trying to pull up some of these comments.
So I want to address Eric Bruce's comment.
This one?
Yeah.
I'm just gonna put that up.
So you've been on here a while. I don't know if he's coming into CoderFounder or not. There's 45 people coming in, but I'd be happy with 45K starting out as a developer job. Ha ha ha. And I think right now when we say that, it is very true, Eric, when you say that. But I'm talking to those guys that they get it, they get the offer, and then suddenly they want to negotiate or change or turn it down because they feel like they can get that little bit more.
Well, and because maybe it came too easy.
It felt too easy, or because the recruiter found me one, surely he can find me another one. Just 10,000 more. Can I get 55? And what I always say, Eric, is, and I try to tell this to every student coming in here, is take the first job and negotiate on the second one. It's just that's when you can negotiate, when you already have work, you're already working, and you can negotiate for better things the second time around. But the first job is only for the experience, and so we see so many people do this, man. They tell us that in the beginning.
Yeah.
And then I get them in front of 4 or 5 interviews and they get a job offer and they turn the thing down. And I don't understand why, and it takes them 3 more months or 6 more months to find something.
Yeah. If ever,
and they could have been making money. They could have been making money while they were doing it.
Sometimes they never do. We've definitely seen your example
of
your one guy. There are definitely more examples of individuals. I mean, I can think of a couple off the top of my head just thinking about it that never ever broke in because they didn't take that first offer. It's nuts.
Right. And they're not really committed to their craft. And so when you're not really committed to your craft, to working outside of a learning environment where you've got to self-motivate and you've got to just kind of grind it out and make things and keep making projects.
It's a one-time shot if that's the case.
It's really hard. So what you need is the structure of a boot camp or a learning environment that will get you to current market ready. And then as soon as you graduate, you've got to find that job pretty much quick. And then you learn everything else that you're going to learn on the job. If it's up to you to do it by yourself, you may not be that person. And that's why we always say, take the first job so that I can get you that year, a 6 month to 1 year experience, and you can build your skills further, keep improving in your career.
Yep, definitely. Anyway. Just to go back to this real quick, Rashawn, this gives me hope, located in Brooklyn, New York. You'll be golden in New York. I know there's a lot of people in New York, but there's also a lot of jobs in New York. There's a lot of giant companies in New York. Just choose your pick your stack and roll with it. You almost can't make a wrong choice in New York.
Yeah, and so and then with you're in Brooklyn, you can train into anywhere. You can train in Manhattan. You can train to anywhere you want. And Brooklyn's a cool place anyway, man. It's way cool.
Hashim would often joke about New York companies the company down my block is ESPN. It's they're this national, this giant brand. Yeah. It's NFL headquarters are around the corner, and it's that's a local company from New York, but it's not. It's a multinational company a lot of times. So you have that advantage too. Your pool is big in New York. You have a lot.
I'm sure if you're in Redmond and you work at Microsoft, people go, huh? Not what you made it to Mount Olympus.
Exactly. No, you work there too.
Just down the street, man.
Exactly. Yeah.
So.
Yep. Definitely. Let's see. I'm gonna go back to some older questions here. I put some up here.
Okay.
So Troy said, I need a good reason to upgrade a web forms application to either MVC framework or .NET Core. Suggestions.
Okay, so Troy, I don't know what your position is in the company where you're doing it. So I'm assuming you're a developer, but let's say you're in the leadership. Here's the main reason that you upgrade web forms to one of the new. And actually, MVC5 shouldn't even be a consideration. Should only be .NET Core MVC or .NET Core Razor Pages, is because you're not going to be able to find anybody to work on this. Your skills will be outdated. Security is a problem. There's just a lot of reasons behind why you want to move from web forms to something else. And so but the main reason I would say if I was running a company today and we had a web form app, we got to start that rewrite because we want to be able to find talent that can work on our application. And then security is a huge, in my thing, a huge concern. It was one of the reasons I would move over to .NET Core. Not to mention if speed is a problem, just moving from web forms over to MVC or .NET Core, it's just going to run faster. And then it also opens you up to just a lot of different things that are just better on the platform overall. But mainly the talent acquisition, speed, and security would be the main three reasons that I would move. So, and if you're trying to do that, Troy, at your company, and you need someone to talk to about it, call me.
Cortex.
Yeah, exactly. Call us, and we'll help you decide what to do. The other thing is, if you're on classic ASP, just realize it's not going to run. Period. So eventually, these frameworks won't run in the browser. So,
Okay. Here's a good point from Adrian. When working on your first job, learn and prepare for your next one. Yeah. Don't be complacent just because you have that first job. Definitely.
Yeah. So here's my step 2 to the road to 100K, and that's a great segue into that, Kevin. And thanks, Adrian, for putting that up there. Is commitment to craft. And when you read Twitter and social media, specifically Twitter, especially tech Twitter, like 90% of it is about lifestyle balance. And I get all that kind of stuff, and I get that you can work 90 hours a week and you only have one life and you can miss your kids growing up, and I get all that. But some of this, you're going to have to stay committed to your craft, especially early on, to acquire more skills, more and more things. And so, like, if the stack you're working on isn't where you want to be, that means you may have to like crank out a Vue project on the weekend, or crank out a React project on the weekend, or investigate mobile, or look at AWS or Azure, what serverless functions or something like that, because you're working on, like Troy said, a web forms project. And so you can't be complacent while you're doing that. And sometimes that's hard to do at night or on the weekends. But I think early on, maybe 5 years, for the first 5 years, that's probably what you're going to be doing. And if I put that out on Twitter, I'm going to get tons and tons of people saying, your life isn't worth it, and like all that kind of stuff. Neither is your health, and don't do it. And it's just the way to be really good at this. Now, once you get over that hump, it's really fascinating. What happens is you begin to get so much skill to where you can like crack open a tutorial on React on a Friday night and be ready to take on a project on Monday, because you just all these things kind of work the same way. And the only way you can get there is through seat time. You got to code, and it's just going to be your hobby, and it's going to be, and you got to do something. And a lot of times, what I find funny is the person that's saying lifestyle balance. Well, they're spending all of their free time on Netflix, and I don't see any difference between me coding something up on the weekend versus binging Warrior Nun or the British Baking Show or something like that. So like I think you can spend things on your craft and do things like that. And you don't have to do it every single weekend. You don't have to do it for 9 straight months or 10 straight months. You do have to not be burned out, but like if you like this stuff, it's kind of fun. And so like I would say, when you see those things on Twitter, just a word of caution, man. Someone is saying that, and they're 10 to 15 years into this, and it doesn't take them but a weekend to pick up something new. They could literally pick something up on the weekend and be ready to interview on Monday and take a new job. They have way more experience than you're thinking, and you're sitting there you're 2 years in, you're like, man, I feel like I don't know enough. And you're right. You just keep learning, and the only way you're going to do that is put in extra time.
Right.
So.
Right. Here's a good.
That's just what I think.
It's a good point from Walter. Experience is just so important. The money will come.
Yeah, exactly.
That's it.
Is that his picture, or is that someone famous?
No, I think that's his picture.
Okay, all right. I thought it looked like.
You can say it looks like somebody. Let's not go down that road again.
The Arrested Development guy. So.
That's funny. Let's not go down that road again, because we'll be calling you Ryan here in a second again. Let's see.
Yeah, Tech Rally has a good comment. What I just said.
Hold on.
Alex.
Oh, there we go. I see it. I struggle with giving the same advice, Bobby. When someone asks me a billion questions, a part of me wants to respond and say, all this time you could have been coding, such learning right now.
Right. Yeah. And so like when I see the things on Twitter that are like lifestyle balance and all these things, it's almost like they're pushing for a 4-day work week. And I just don't, if you can find it, great. I can just tell you, man, like it's just really hard to do that way. Now, once you get really good at this and you've got 15 years in, you can kind of like do your job and just, fix your stuff in. And especially if you latch onto a great company and they're really worried about the output, not the hours. You can get a full-time job with part-time work because you're just kind of like spending time at the coffee machine, and you're just fixing stuff when it comes in, so. But I do think early on, you got to put your time in, man. You just got to be committed to your craft. You're your own product. Think about that. So the more you work on you, and people think that like coding isn't about like this whole thing, like, oh, that's destroying my life, or that's like not like self-improvement. Yes, coding can be very. It's allowing you to make more money. Maybe you'll build a product. Maybe you'll launch a company. I guarantee if you launch a company, you're going to work more than 4 hours a day.
Right. I'm more than 4 days a week. Actually, you're like, I wish there was 8 days in a week.
Exactly.
That's funny.
Yeah. So that's kind of cool.
That's funny. Okay, I'm gonna go through some of the older questions on here. These might not be totally related to this, but I'm just gonna go through some of the questions for the last we're at the end here, so 10 minutes. So
okay, cool. This went by fast. Hopefully this has been a first to everybody.
Yeah.
Leave a comment if you liked our session today.
Yeah. Give us a thumbs up too.
Give us a thumbs up.
That definitely helps us if you like the video down below. It definitely helps us with these things. It'll keep recommending it, and then it'll help us overall. We would definitely appreciate that. Let's just do some more off-topic, quick-fire questions. So Isaac is asking, is it good to apply for a remote dev job in Europe as a university senior?
You can, and what I would say, Isaac, I want you to like seriously consider this. There may be only remote dev opportunities, but let's say you had a choice between remote and in-person role. If you're just starting out, remote can be dangerous to where you're not very productive during the day, and only you know that answer. I'm not saying you're lazy. I'm just saying like naturally sometimes we can get distracted and not be as productive as we can. And productivity on your first job is so important, especially between not getting fired and stuff like that.
Well, you want to be the go-to guy, right? You want to be the guy that's like known there for being like going above and beyond, not the guy that just maybe got it done or maybe didn't get it done.
The second thing is it's really hard to learn from more senior people when you're totally remote. And so like the first 5 years, you can learn a lot from people that work beside you. So, but if it's the only job you got, make money is the number one goal. So that's the number one goal.
Yep. So here's two related questions. I'll read these both out to start off with. So Moses said, how do you stay motivated to keep learning? He works for 10 hours a day, Monday through Friday, and the last thing he wants to see is more code. And then kind of related is Agedi's question, how do you fight against burnout syndrome?
See, I'm the wrong person to ask about that, because I've never felt burned out. I just haven't. I mean, I'm 52 years old, and I just don't feel burned out ever. I don't know why. I mean, so maybe there's times in my life where I like didn't do things on the weekend, and I found time to play basketball. I found time to get married and have kids, and I've been on vacation. I think you just have to put it in containers of time, and then you devote the other time to when you want to play, so like that. So I don't know. What I would say is, what was the other question?
It was
the first one before that.
Working.
Keeping up your motivation.
Yeah, keeping up motivation.
So motivation is, for me, was like start a project, complete a project, and then I want to get that done. I want to see it through. Was always the motivator for me, instead of just like learning a course. Like I may be different than everyone else on the face of the planet. I'll see a course and I might look at it for the first 20 minutes. And as soon as I get onto something, I'm already trying to build something else. That's just the way I'm motivated. But I have a lot of experience in a lot of things. And so like I'm immediately trying to change the course, because I'm always focused with, I want to build a project, or I want to build this. I want to do this. I have a goal in mind. And that goal, because I want to finish it, keeps me motivated.
Awesome. Okay. Right, cool. Do you remember on Friday, or Thursday? Thursday. Last time we were live, Thursday. I think it was Ruan who came and told us that he had an interview today. for a job.
Oh,
Guess what?
wow.
Guess what? They got the job. That's awesome. That's awesome. That's super good.
And then
Congratulations.
Nightbot banned him. Then Nightbot
I
banned
saw
him.
that.
Put him on time.
I saw them because the very next comment was calm down with the emotes. Like, sorry.
Hey, Nightbot, come on, man. The guy just got a job.
Yes.
So, and he was the one that built a bug tracker. Is that correct?
I don't remember actually. Now that I think
Okay, but
about
anyway,
it. Maybe.
that's great, man. That's awesome. That's awesome.
That's super cool. Congratulations. That's very cool. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. Okay.
All right, cool.
Let's go down some more of these random questions. What do you think about Leak Code?
So I'm looking at Leak Code and Geeks for Geeks for coding challenges to put on the channel. How important do I think it is to finding a job? I don't know, man. Like, I think Microsoft's interview practice has changed to some degree. I don't know about Facebook's, but it's good to kind of like challenge yourself and solve these things. Our approach to Leak Code and those things is put a UI on the top of them so people can play with your coding challenge, so you know how to solve them and build a UI. That's just what we do. I don't think it's bad. I mean, there's nothing bad about it. But like I saw a tweet the other day, the guy he said, I'm 15 years into it and I solved a binary tree for the first time in my professional career, but he used it to interview at his job. So I thought it's funny. So like, you're rarely ever going to use a bubble sort that you're going to write by scratch.
Yeah.
I mean, so like, but I mean, like, Google's made this stuff famous and Facebook and all these guys have made these coding challenges famous. So learn about them.
Yeah. And it's more about a way of thinking and a way to solve a problem. I think that's what they're I think ultimately when they started this stuff off, that's what they were trying to do. They're trying to make sure that you can think in an abstract way to solve this problem. And this is their solution to that.
Yeah. But what's weird though is like, while you can solve those kind of things, it's not actually what you're doing. You're like building Gmail,
right?
Or you're building something else, and so those problems may not necessarily be. But then there's some pure computer science things I'm sure Google does that those things they use it every single day, and it's like very important to what they do.
Well, for sure, but chances of getting one of those jobs, you've probably got to have a PhD. I mean,
you got to put your time in. You got to put your time in for sure.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. It's a slightly different thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, let's I'm gonna do this one next. Because we don't really know. Mika says late to the party, but that Houston is an up and coming in tech. Is that true?
So Houston, Austin, Dallas, all three of those places. I mean, they look at Austin as a tech hub, but Houston, I know Dallas is way bigger. So when you look at the population, there's more companies there. There's probably more opportunities than even Austin. But all three of those places are blowing up. And that's mainly because of a lot of things that are going on in the U.S., Texas being a low-tax state. There's a lot of companies moving there. So, yeah, I mean, Tesla's moving some operations there.
I know Apple has a big presence in Austin.
Apple. Yeah. And so, like, and it's cool. It's cool. It's hot. I mean, it's giant. Mostly desert. But, like, if you're staying in the cities, it's kind of cool.
Yeah. I went to Austin last year. It's a good place.
Yeah.
Never been to Houston.
So, but like, I know Adrian Thomas is big oil and gas and medical industries. I'm like, I guarantee you they need coders.
Right.
It doesn't matter what the industry is. It doesn't have to be what you would call your traditional tech company,
right?
That has a software product for you to hire developers. I guarantee you, big oil and gas people are hiring coders to do something because they're trying to figure out how to make what they're doing better or whatever they're doing.
Right.
Medical industries are loaded with coders too.
Yep. So, here's another good thing too. Yeah. Just curious, does NASA hire devs? 100% they do.
Well, yeah, the Mars rover
no
uses Java. Yeah. So as I understand it, I could be wrong. Someone may correct me.
Plus, at the end of the day, I mean, they have a website. Just somebody runs it.
Somebody does.
Minimum, somebody's doing something like that. Even
they're writing code to launch things to the moon and back and to Mars. So
100%. Okay, let me go back to my my queue. Oh, here's a good one. I like this one. This is on topic too. Adrian also asked, any tips on negotiating the next job?
Oh, that's interesting. So like, so they're going to ask you what you want, and just what I would say is ask for what you want and then stay with it when you get that offer.
Yeah, don't ask for. Let's say that you're going for your second job. We've seen this. You're going for your second job, and you're like, I want 60K, and the offer comes in, and it's 60K, and then you're like, well, you know what? I'd love 65.
67 sounds better.
Like, dude, no, just that doesn't. That's not how it works. The recruiter has already pitched you to this company, saying you would accept it if you offered them 60, and now they've got to go back and say, and they accepted it. And it's almost like you're at the end of the road there. And now you want to change it. Right. They may go for it.
Negotiation should only happen once.
Yeah.
I would say you don't need to negotiate. You just ask. Now if you got like 10 offers, man, like, hey, if you put yourself out there and you can do it. I mean, I would say work with recruiters. Recruiters help you negotiate. So like what happens when recruiters negotiate is then the employer doesn't reflect that on you. When you're doing it directly, sometimes they can go, nah, I don't think so. I'm just going to, I got another guy over here that wants to work for 60, and you lose out when you would have took 60 to begin with.
Well, here's the other thing too.
You could get the next
exactly
bit.
Be very, very honest with your recruiter.
Yeah.
Trust me, they want to get you the highest paying job because they make the most amount of money the more you get paid because they're working on a percentage. Yeah. So be honest with them. Be like, I would love to get 70, but I'll take 65. And trust me, they're going to pitch you out there for 70. And when the company's like, that's a little high, they're going to be like, I'll tell you what, I'll see what I can do. And they're going to know automatically you'll take 65. And that's a negotiation you can do too. Or the other way around. They're going to try and maximize the amount of money that they can make for you for sure. So just be brutally honest with them. Tell them exactly what you want and don't change it.
Yeah.
Because we've seen that and it doesn't work out very well. It can, but it sometimes doesn't. And then you lose the job. And now you got nothing.
Nothing, So
yeah. Yep. This is more of a general question, but this doesn't really matter about it being an immigrant, but when you have a lot of experience, but you're an immigrant with a big gap on your career, any advice? I don't think it really matters that you're an immigrant in this situation. Anybody with a lot of experience but a big gap in your career, like how do you handle that?
So build a project that you built in the last recent and show that. And then a lot of times, and whatever the big gap was, it could be health, it could be you went and did something different, whatever it is. But like build projects and show the project. So hire you based on your current thing. What have you done lately? Not the big gap in your career. But if you have a good reason for it, just tell them. And if you don't, say you went, if you went on a walkabout in Australia for 2 years, I don't know. I mean,
right.
If you were, in a hospital or you had a health issue, I don't need if you need to go into that. I wouldn't. I would just show here's my projects, and you took some time off. So.
Yep.
Personal reasons, 77, yeah. I mean, you just took some time off. I had some money. I took a vacation.
Yeah.
That's 17 years. It's a long one.
It was good. Like, what can I say? It was good.
It was a good vacation, man.
Yeah. Let's see. Let's do a couple more with the top of the hour. So, the Platypus Clan. Oh, that's funny. Someone who just graduated with a CS degree in May, I can already feel my skills fading quickly. I did mostly Java, Python, SQL,
Oracle,
the
SQL,
MVC
PL
core movie tutorial helped to learn full stack.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, that's what I always point people to, man. There's a tutorial called MVC Movie that's on MVC Core. Wow, we got one. Thank you for the super chat, Julio. Thank you. All right, cool.
I'll come back to yours in a question in a second, Julio. I will definitely come back to your question.
We'll get you right there. Thank you.
There you go.
So, I think the MVC Movie is a great tutorial. It goes through the whole thing of the database access, everything, scaffolding. It's pretty good, And then what I would do after you do that is build something different and use that tutorial as a guide, and then show that that new project. So you could build, like I say, a bug tracker after you're watching that. You should be able to, or a blog or something like that. So I wouldn't show MVC Movie to an employer.
Right.
Number one, the front end's kind of basic. They're just showing you the basics, so you can get more creative with that. But if you want to show a movie site, take it to the next level, make it different, make it better, have more content than that. But it can get you there for sure. So you can feel confident that you can build something else. Sure. Let's get Julio's. What was his thing?
Let me just do this one thing quick.
Okay.
There we go. for filling in the gap on your resume. She says, hire yourself, lead dev of your freelance agency.
You can do that too, man. Yeah. You definitely.
Yep.
So
especially have some work to show for that too.
Yeah, have some work. Yeah.
So Julio said, first job salary negotiation without jeopardizing the job.
Okay, so like number one, you may not know exactly what you're worth in the environment. So you may rely on them to make you an offer. And then what I would say is when you get that offer, take it and then put 6 months down, ask for a raise, and find that second job if they don't give you a raise. But if they ask you what you want, know what you want to get, and then try to be kind of like reasonable with your first job, those kind of things. So like, I wouldn't say a negotiation. When I hear negotiation, it's like this back and forth, where you're trying to get as much as you can. I would just say, know what you're worth. That first job, the experience is more valuable than the salary. Just always experience trumps salary in that first job. But what you can do is you can kind of look and see what they're paying. If you're working with a recruiter, though, that recruiter will tell you like, here's the salary cap for this thing. Because they get paid based on your first year salary. They're trying to get you most money as they can get, and they'll tell you, I don't think I can get you, 52. I think 50 is pretty good. That's what they're going to offer.
Trust what your recruiter's going to tell you. They're not out to burn you in any way.
No, and then just take it, and then 6 months, adjust where you're at from there, and then start looking again. Call your recruiter back and go, hey, is there any other opportunities in there? I'd like to get a pay increase. And typically, you'll probably have to leave your first job to get the bump in pay that you want. But it's that company's job to keep you there. So even if they lowball you, what I always tell companies, man, don't lowball a coder, man. 6 months later, they're just going to leave, and then you're going to have to start over again. But some do, and they treat them differently or they treat them the same as other employees. And I think it's a specialized environment, especially when you have you build up a lot of knowledge in their systems and a lot of knowledge about what they do. It hurts when you have to retrain the programmer, when they leave over money. Right. So, but take the first offer that you can get, but kind of know what you'd want to work for. So, and a recruiter tell you if you're asking too low,
Right. Oh yeah. If you come in and you're like, I'll take 30, they'd be like, well, actually, I can get you more than that. Exactly. They want
exactly.
To get you more than that. Yeah. Let's do one last thing. Actually, two, because I see another one that just came in that I really like too. Mika says she's currently working for a healthcare company in the IT department on the service desk and wondering how to get a foot in the door on the applications team. Would it be smart to create solutions to issues, I guess, in the current application?
You could, yeah. You could create some things, yeah. If you can code it up and make it work good.
Friend the team and show them your work, yeah.
Yeah. So when I worked at Aon, there's plenty of people that were writing things in other departments, and they weren't on the IT team. So, yeah, code it up and show it to your boss, and show it to somebody. Definitely. I think that's good.
Okay, here's the final one before we jump out of here. I know you have an opinion on this. Is settling for an unpaid internship part of the road to 100K?
If it's the only thing you can get, that's fine. But and Zena corrects, I don't know where you're at. In America, I think if you know how to code and they'll put you in an internship because you know how to code, they absolutely should pay you. So I think you should get, for some reason, internships here in America get around like minimum wage salary rules. I don't understand how that's possible. It shouldn't. I mean, they should at least have to pay you, what is it, $7.50 or an hour or something like that?
Something like that.
Yeah, so like $8.25, something like that, $10, whatever it is. I don't think you should work for free in any stretch of the imagination. Second, that unpaid internship better come with some super flexibility in the work. So if they're asking you to work 40 hours a week as an unpaid intern and you're on at their beck and call, they should pay you.
And if you're doing grunt work learning nothing, then that's a big sign that you've probably wasted your time too.
Leave. Yeah, leave and go do something else.
Yeah.
So.
Yep. Okay, cool. Let's let's wrap this up here. So we're gonna be back on Wednesday. We'll do a whole Q&A session. on Wednesday, just as we normally do. So if you have extra questions I didn't get to here, bring them on Wednesday. We'll be here same time again, noon Wednesday. Anything else we have?
She said I'm getting soft. He's talking about my internship. Let me be stronger. I would never work for free. Like, I'm just trying to be nice. But like, if it's the only thing you can get, Hashim, that's the only job you can get is that unpaid internship. I guess you take it to learn something. But I even say that, man, you could probably work on your own projects and get a better job by doing that. I mean, so like, I don't know if there's a real good reason to do it. But I don't know the benefits of the internship. Put it this way, man, Microsoft has the LEAP program. They pay you $70K a year to take their bootcamp.
Right. Exactly. So there's internships out there, because that pretty much is an internship. It's like an internship, but it's like it's Microsoft teaching you their technology stack. Because what happens at the end of LEAP program is they take the cream of the crop of the class and they give them jobs at Microsoft. It's their bootcamp into Microsoft.
Yeah.
And yes, they
why in the heck would you want to go spend all your time in a company that can't afford to pay you? Think about that. They're never going to be able to afford to pay you.
Right.
So like, go to a company that's successful, has products, that's doing things, that invests in technology. I'm always amazed by a lot of times in my consulting work, and I remember this telling to a lot of business leaders when I talked to them, I said, the first thing you need to understand is this. You think you're doing this, but you're a software company.
Right.
And you need to start behaving and acting like a software company, because you think that you're
making widgets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But really what you're doing is that you're a software company, because you have a software recurring revenue, or software like dramatically supports your business. Even though it may be hardware, but the software is what the thing.
You also seen a lot of service businesses for sure that are a software company for sure.
Absolutely. But they don't behave like it.
Right.
They spend all their time and effort on other things, making sure, and then they treat the software development talent like the third world citizen, or they don't invest in it.
Right.
Just talking to Troy, just to go back on that, you're sitting there with a web forms app that is like 20 years old. All right. And if that's the basis of the business leader's like, well, that's going to cost a lot of money to do it. I'm like, no, you're a software company. That's what you do.
Right.
You don't stop paying the rent. You don't stop building the trucks. You don't stop, paying the employees. This is the product. And so therefore you should rewrite it. What are you going to do when you turn around and like suddenly no one can work on your system, or wants to work on your system, or even convert it because it's so old? Then you've put the business in a bad situation.
Right.
So anyway.
Right. There you go. One last comment. Okafor said this channel is golden. Thank you, Okafor. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
We appreciate it.
Right, thank you. We appreciate the support. Give us a like. We're waiting for our one down like. That usually happens the next day. But like, let's upvote us.
Oh, that's great. So we'll be back on Wednesday. I think that's all I've got today.
All right. That's it, man. Good luck and keep coding. We'll see you Wednesday.
See you guys later. Bye. Yeah.